Hello everybody, my name is Necroxis, and it's time for a long overdue update. I also don't have my glasses on because the time of day and where I'm moved my computer desk, I'll just show you. It's very hard to see at my actual eyes right now, so if you're wondering, that's why. I want to give a bit of an update to the channel, because if you probably have noticed, I haven't uploaded anything in quite a long time. And I want to give you some reasons why. This is also tied into Battle for Azeroth. As you probably could have guessed if you've followed me on Twitter at all during the development period. But yeah, so right off the top, this is going to be a video where I talk about things that I don't like in Battle for Azeroth. So if that's something that you don't want to hear, feel free to close the video and go elsewhere. And also right off the top, if you love everything you see about Battle for Azeroth, I'm super happy for you, non-sarcastically. I hope it's everything that you want. It's just personally almost not anything that I want. Which is kind of why I stopped even doing videos on development, which it takes a lot for me to do. I did all of Legion's leveling content, and even though I don't like a lot of Legion itself. But, as I'll explain later, that doesn't mean that I think Battle for Azeroth is irredeemably horrible. There are a lot of changes they could make that'll make it a lot better, and much like with Legion, where I really didn't like the first two-thirds, I really liked Argus as a leveling zone, and Antorus was okay. It wasn't bad. So yeah. So the reason I stopped making beta videos was because I just really didn't enjoy what I was doing. I found it boring, and when stuff actually was happening, I didn't like it. The one exception was probably Zuldazar, and a little bit of Nazmir. I didn't do Vol'dun at all. Forgive the loudness in the background. I live pretty close to a racetrack, and they apparently are doing an event today. I didn't do Vol'dun. I heard it was okay, and since I tend to be a little bit more cynical than a lot of people, I'm probably not going to like it as much. But who knows? If I do, I'll give an update during live and say, hey, I liked Vol'dun a lot. But my dislike of Drustvar was no secret. I mean, I almost quit in the middle of the Drustvar leveling because of how much I hated it. And how boring I thought it was. Tierguard's sound is decently better, but still very sporadic, and there's not really much going on, and the overall story is kind of lackluster. And then I didn't do Stormsong Valley, if you're curious. So yeah, when I'm having this much of a trouble finding the passion to even play the beta, let alone record, be in character and up and aware and caring enough to be commentating on it and doing all the editing. If I'm barely bringing myself to be able to play it, I'm not going to record and edit and do all this other extra stuff that it requires for YouTube. So I kind of just stopped, and I was like, I'll just wait for a while, and maybe they'll fix a lot of the problems, because this is also going to be a rambly video, because it's off the cuff. A lot of the charges that get leveled against me is, and this only started happening with Warlords. If anyone's been following me for a long time, you know I liked Cataclysm a lot. I always defended Cataclysm, even when it was popular to hate on it, and Mists of Pandaria was and still is my favorite expansion. But I feel like a big problem with World of Warcraft now is Blizzard kind of stopped doing their own artistic vision and kind of either just started writing the story to either service something else or just for fan service. And Warlords, I'm not sure if people are aware of this, it's very clear that Warlords of Draenor was an expansion to tie into the Warcraft movie. And they were even advertising, hey, play World of Warcraft if you like the movie, like in theaters and in commercials. It's very clear that we were questing alongside Durotan, and you were seeing Gul'dan and Grommash. That was incredibly intentional during the time that the Warcraft movie was coming out. So, and it's no secret, I think Warlords, I think it's safe to say, is probably the most disliked expansion that we've ever had. So there's not really much more I can say about that. For Legion itself, I've explained many times before, I think Legion has just jumped full headlong into fan service. Whether it's making Sylvanas into the War Chief with very nonsensical reasons of Vol'jin, the lower spirit told me goodbye, and then it's like, what? And that's really never brought up again, even in Battle for Azeroth, when Vol'jin's spirit comes back. In some form. He doesn't mention that at all. He doesn't mention Sylvanas whatsoever. His sole focus is on Zandalar. So who knows if that'll even be brought up again. Everything with Illidan is just such a nightmare. They turned him they didn't know what to do with Illidan. It's clear that after they ruined him in a Burning Crusade, Metzen even said, like, do you want Illidan back? And everyone cheered, and then Blizzard was like, well, what the fuck do we even do with him then? So I guess we'll just make him be right all along and retcon all the horrible things he ever did into being him doing them for the right reasons the whole time that we just didn't understand, and I really despise that idea. But like I said, I really liked Argus. If you take Illidan out of the picture, everything on Argus I thought was really good, actually. Velen was a standout in all of Legion, but especially on Argus. There are so many moments with Velen where I'm like, this is the character that I knew could be awesome, that was there the whole time, and we finally get to see him. Even in Warlords, they kill him off in the introduction zone, and I'm like, what the fuck? But we finally see him be like the badass leader that he always could be. Turalyon and Illyria are pretty cool. I still would have preferred if the Void storyline was with somebody else, but I understand why they did it with Illyria, and I'm on board with it now. Seeing Lady Liadrin there, and Silgrin and all the other NPCs that show up, and learning about the Lightforge was really cool, and the Void Elves and having the Void storyline. I liked all of Argus. I thought Argus was great. Zira got blown the fuck up, so cool. I hate that it was Illidan that did it, but I'm glad somebody killed that bitch, because I really hated her, and I hated her whole storyline. And yeah, overall, I think Argus was a very good conclusion patch. And that's why it gives me hope to say, even though I really don't like most of what Battle for Azeroth is at launch, just like with Legion, I hope that they're going to fix it. And I'm not giving up on World of Warcraft. And I think a lot of people don't understand that a lot of us who criticize the game a lot aren't doing it from a place of malice. I'm sure there are some people who do it just to hate on it, because there are always assholes on the internet. But a lot of us who are saying, hey, this isn't right, and this isn't right, and this isn't right, and this storyline makes no sense, and why is this grind coming back? We're saying it because we want the game to be better. Like, it's a 15-year-old game. It's not going to be lasting for so much longer. And I keep seeing people everywhere in between Discords and on forums and, just talking to them on Twitter. People seem to think that World of Warcraft's got like another 10 or 15 years to go. I'll be very surprised if the next expansion isn't like a conclusion one. Because it's very clear that Blizzard doesn't really want to do MMOs anymore, even though they have a gigantic team on Warcraft. They constantly, whenever they're asked, like, would you ever do an MMO again, they're like, no. Like, they never, ever express the desire to do another MMO, RPG or otherwise again. And I can't blame them, because it's kind of crazy. So that brings us to Battle for Azeroth. I already talked about the zones, but I want to talk about probably my personal biggest problem, which is the story. I was really hoping that the story was going to be kind of Mists of Pandaria 2.0, because I really liked everything that had to do with Mists of Pandaria. I liked the continent, I liked the zones that we were leveling in, I liked the non-faction story, the non-faction war storyline of the Shah, and the Mogu, and the Mantid, and the Hosen, and the Jinyu, and the Pandaren, and their whole lore, and everything about Emperor Xiaohao, and Lord Wakacho. God, I just love everything about that expansion. And also, the faction war was done very well, too, until the very, very end, which I'll get to in a second. But the faction war was done, too. 5.1, Landfall, is still my favorite patch the game has ever had. And there was no dungeons, and there were no raids in it. It was just a storyline patch that progressed the faction war storyline in a satisfying way for both factions. I really like the Alliance version of it, with you questing alongside Anduin, trying to figure out how to get the Harmonic Mallet to destroy this Divine Bell that Garrosh is searching for. The Purge of Dalaran is such a cool event from either faction, because it still drives discussion and disagreement to this day. And from the Horde storyline, you're working with your war chief trying to get this super weapon to kill the Alliance, and ultimately you're learning that the leader that you've been following is kind of a little crazy, and all the other leaders don't actually trust him anymore. And that's a very intriguing storyline that the Horde players, I think, maybe take for granted. It's really, I would rather have a faction where people are constantly bickering with each other and like having different viewpoints than a faction that the Alliance is, which is kind of boring. And if everyone agrees with each other and we're all happy-go-lucky and we all love each other and everyone's the best, like that's boring. And while I do still love the Alliance, I think they need a lot more contention within their ranks. So I was really hoping that Battle for Azeroth was going to be this. But it's really not. The faction war in 8.0 is... Oh, it's strange. I don't like it a lot. And a lot of it comes, yes, from Sylvanas. A lot of it seems to be Sylvanas' plot armor, even when she's doing blatantly evil things, and even when she's doing things that other characters in the past have disagreed with, suddenly those characters now have no problem with. If you want a couple examples, Rexxar. For some reason, Rexxar is totally gung-ho Horde now, even though his established character moment before we actually meet him in Frozen Throne is he left the Orcish Horde, the remnants of it, when Grom was leading it, because Grom couldn't let go of his hatred, and Grom still wanted to kill all the Alliance. And so Rexxar was like, fuck it, peace, I'm out, man, bye. And he goes and lives in the wilderness by himself. Sylvanas is doing the exact same thing, and Rexxar's like, yeah, for the Horde. And I'm like, what? Where did your character go? It's confusing to me. I don't even like Rexxar as, like, I mean, I'm neutral on the character. I don't like him or dislike him, but like, he didn't deserve that part of his character to just be ignored. And you can say that with so many other characters. Lillian Voss suddenly is pro-Forsaken after her literal entire character has been, I hate being alive as an undead creature, and I wouldn't wish that on anybody else. And in Battle for Azeroth, she's working with the Forsaken, saying, for the Dark Lady, for the Forsaken. She's bringing other people back to life as Forsaken. It's like, this is completely antithetical to everything that you ever believed. You know, you have characters like Garona Halforken, who was best friends with Lane Rin, Varian's father, Anduin's grandfather. It destroyed her psyche to kill him against her will. And in Battle for Azeroth, she's jokingly talking about murdering Anduin, which is Lane's grandson. And it's like, first of all, she probably wouldn't even be working with the Horde in this case. She'd probably be hunting down the other threats that aren't the Alliance. But she certainly wouldn't be joking about murdering one of her best friend's grandchildren, just because he's the leader of the Alliance now. And it's Sylvanas herself. You know, I get so much hatred for hating the character, and I still do. But as we're going to see in the upcoming novel, and in Battle for Azeroth, she suddenly now wants to just convert everybody into Forsaken, because she thinks that's going to help them? When a main part of her character is, what joy is there in this curse? We are Forsaken. Like, she has iconic catchphrases talking about how she hates being what she is. But because she is, she has to learn to deal with it, and she's leading this small group of people who are, you know, who got thrust into this horrible situation against their will by Arthas and the Scourge, but they're learning to live with it. And now suddenly she's just like, fuck it, let's just convert everybody, because what joy is there in this curse? Apparently there's quite a lot, because she wants to destroy everyone and turn them into Forsaken. And even I can say, Sylvanas doesn't deserve that as a character. You know, they don't deserve to ruin that part of her character. The part when she was actually a good character in Frozen Throne, they're like, fuck it. Let's just get rid of it, because we need to service the faction war story, I guess? I just don't... There are so many other characters, like I mentioned as well, that I just don't understand what they're doing with them for. There are some really cool characters, though. Princess Talanji. It might be my favorite character in a long time. She's a really interesting leader. I like her a lot. She gets her hands dirty. She fights personally herself with her Loa Rizan. She does the work herself, and she's a cool leader, and she's with you all of Nazmir, and she shows up later in Zuldazar, and she's like part of the main faction storyline. Like, she's a great character. I like her a lot. And let's see, there's some other characters that I quite enjoy. I'm trying to think of some of them off the top of my head. Talia is very interesting. I mean, if you haven't been spoiled on who she is at this point, I'm not gonna spoil it for you. But I'm intrigued to see where that goes. I think people throw around the term Mary Sue a lot, because I've seen her be called a Mary Sue. I've seen Anduin be called a Mary Sue. I don't even necessarily think Sylvanas is a Mary Sue anymore. She just has like plot armor that never will let her die. It's just so Talia is kind of interesting. Lucia Waycrest, I would have liked her a lot more if she actually was like involved in what was going on. Like, I wanted her kind of be like a Lorna Crowley, where she had a shotgun and she didn't like have any powers, but she was there like with a shotgun fighting just alongside you. Instead, she's kind of just like telling you what to do on her behalf. But so the storyline is a major problem that I have, and then we have like the whole overarching storyline about Gahun, and I don't really care that much about that storyline. The fact that, is he an old god, is he not? He gets called one, and then he gets called he's not one, and then Blizzard doesn't seem to know what they want to do with him, and clearly this is all just a setup for N'Zoth, and they don't feel like they're doing that very well. a lot of the stuff has to do with what they've said is coming up, like Azara's just being the Gul'dan of 8.1, and does that mean she's just dying right away? Because that's a huge disservice to that character. I really hate the fate of Prophet Zul, because I thought he was on the cusp of becoming a Gul'dan-like villain in terms of how great he was, and they kind of just ruin it entirely. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but I really hate the finale to his character arc. And it's just... On the Alliance's side, I just couldn't give two shits about anything that's going on. The only character I think I like on the Alliance is Catherine Proudmoore, because she's the only one that seems to have an arc of any kind at all. And I like that she... no spoilers, but she has a pretty interesting turnaround on her character, and I like it. But she's like the only one. And it's weird that I care way more about Zandalar and like it a lot more than I do Kul Tiras, as such an Alliance hardcore fanboy cock that I am, or whatever you want to call me. I think Blizzard really didn't know what to do with Kul Tiras. They knew that Kul Tiras is a naval nation that Jaina's from. That's it. It's all. I feel like that's what they went in. And then they just make up a bunch of stuff that really was kind of boring. And I still maintain the claim that I made even when I got right home from BlizzCon, when I was super hyped on Battle for Azeroth. I think the expansion would have been much better served if we had a whole bunch of islands. Like, if Zandalar and Kul Tiras were islands, but they weren't nearly as big as they were. Like, if every island was just one zone. Like, Zandalar and Kul Tiras and Kazan, we can go to Tel Abyss and Najatar, inevitably. You know, and they could make up a bunch of shit. The Dragon Isles, whatever. Like, just make up whatever you want. Make up islands that are suddenly here because of the Cataclysm. Because it feels like Zandalar and Kul Tiras are too big for the such... small amount of story that they have going on with them. And like I said, yes, this could be fixed. This could be fixed, because they could even go back and add stuff into Zandalar and Kul Tiras, because Mists of Pandaria, they did that. When Landfall came out, they added a bunch of little quest hubs around Pandaria that were involved in the new storyline. So they could still change it, and I hope that they do, and I hope it's better. But the story is just such a bummer to me that I'm really hard-pressed to even play it, and I even tried to refund the game because I was so dissatisfied with what I saw, but I couldn't, because I had unlocked the 4 allied race things, and that's all you apparently needed to have done to not get a refund. Even though I would argue that they could just like flip the switch and say that you can't make those characters anymore and you can't play those characters unless you have Battle for Azeroth. But whatever. I didn't know why it was such a big outrage that I tried to refund the game that I didn't like. It's money that was spent on something that was dissatisfying to me, and I wanted the money back, so fuck me. I'm such an asshole, I guess, according to some parts of the internet. I mean, I played through most of the leveling experience, and I played through a lot of the main features. I did island expeditions. I tested out the Warfront. The Warfront's not even like a canonical event, because there is no like canonical ending. It's just, if you win this time, the next time you'll be on the defense, and the Horde, like whoever is attacking in Warfronts, they've confirmed, will always win the Warfront. So is there never going to be like a canonical, like who's going to ultimately in the storyline control Stormguard? Is that ever going to be established? Because in the game it's just going to be the Alliance and the Horde, the Alliance and Horde, the Alliance and Horde, Alliance and Horde. It just goes back and forth depending on who's attacking, and if you're attacking, you always win. So, like, what the fuck's the point of it? And then we have Azurite power being literally just artifact power, but with a necklace instead of an artifact weapon. And that stupid, terrible grind is coming back that I don't like, and I criticized Legion for, so I'm criticizing Battle for Azeroth for, because it's the same system. It's the exact same system. Maybe they made it slightly less obnoxious because it's a necklace, not your weapons, but it's still the same system. So, this is some thoughts why I don't like Battle for Azeroth, and you can disagree, and feel free to disagree. I have been told I'm wrong on all of these points many times. But I can't help feeling the way that I feel about this stuff, you guys. I just don't like a lot of it. And I, to be perfectly honest, if I could have refunded Battle for Azeroth, I probably wouldn't play on launch. I don't know. I'm in no excited hurry to play when launch comes out. Like, even with Legion, I was like, yeah, I want to play because I'm playing with Howie and Dunn and my friends, and I really want to play it. And I'm sure on launch Howie will be playing, and if I end up playing, I'll play with him. But even for Warlords, I was like, oh, I was in a guild with all the there's lore people, and I was so excited to play, and I wanted to see the Shadow Moon storyline more and hopefully see all these awesome cinematics, and now I'm just like, meh, whatever. I'll just watch them all. I'll just watch the relevant cinematics on YouTube because that's all that seems to really matter anymore, I guess. So, I don't know. Those are some of my thoughts about the Battle for Azeroth beta, alpha, game, launch, whatever you want to call it. Sorry, it's incredibly hot right now where I am. And I can't have my fan on because it'll be picked up by the mic. But, so there you go. When I dislike a product so much as it seems to, I think it's clear that I do, I can't bring myself to just, I don't make enough money on YouTube to justify faking interest in something. Like, and I feel like you can love me or hate me, but you know where I stand on something. If I'm passionate about something, I'm passionate about it. And if I don't like it, I don't like it. And you'll know very clearly. Like, there's at no point, I feel like it's fair to say at no point am I faking my opinion about something. And I don't want to start doing that for YouTube views, even though it's popular. Even though I was the first person to have the Battle for Lordaeron perspective up on YouTube. I was interested in that. That was when I was a sweet summer child and I didn't realize how much I hated Battle for Azeroth yet at that point. But I'm sure if I was the first one to get up Kierkegaard Sound and Vol'dun questlines, that I would get a lot of views as well. I can't fake it, you guys. I don't want to fake it. So, that's where we go. So to end this video, I want to explain a little bit about what's going to happen going forward with the channel. My goal before Battle for Azeroth comes out is to do the Shaman 7.2 follower and 7.2 mount, and the Rogue 7.2 follower and 7.2 mount. The Shaman, I'm already at exactly that place to record. The Rogue, I still have to get through Legion. It's at 100. So next week, I would expect, or this week, depending on when this video comes out, next week or this week, expect the two Shaman videos coming out, and then probably the week after that, maybe, the 2 Rogue videos that are going to come out. I'm also going to do a bunch of reactions to all the Battle for Azeroth cinematics that inevitably are going to be leaked. Because, hey, I'm still interested in the storyline, even if I don't like what's going on right now, so I'm going to react to that. And then, other than that, I really, really want to start my Final Fantasy XIV playthrough, because I've been itching to play it so badly after Battle for Azeroth being such a disappointment. So far, it could get better, but so far, it's very disappointing to me. And I would go so far as to say the first expansion of Final Fantasy XIV is fantastic. It is probably better than any of the expansions WoW's ever had. It's called Heaven's Ward, and it's really cool. So I want to do like a playthrough of the entire storyline to show you guys another MMO and how they do things and how their storyline's different and how Square Enix is okay with having cutscenes where characters are just talking to each other and disagreeing about political matters rather than just having explosions in every cinematic like World of Warcraft does. Taryn Gregory is great, and I love everything he does. But not everything has to be huge, gigantic, explosive set pieces. You can have really cool, intimate, disagreement, debate arguments, and if you're invested in the storyline, it's like, oh shit, this is so enthralling. And there's a lot of Final Fantasy XIV cutscenes that are like that, where I'm just like, this is so cool. I mean, it's like a Final Fantasy game that's just an MMO. It's great. I like it a lot. So I want to explore that and show you guys that and see if maybe you like it as well. You could play that too. I'm never advocating quitting WoW to play 14 or whatever else. Play whatever you think is interesting. Play both of them if you end up liking both, like I do. But I feel like 14 doesn't get enough love for how cool it is. So I want to begin showing that off. And there you go. I'm sure if there's something weird that happens, I will do a video on it in terms of Warcraft. I'm not even sure if I really want to do a video on the Before the Storm book, because I've seen most of the spoilers already, and I don't know if I want to do a video on it, to be fair. Maybe I'll just do like a very quick one where it's like, this is what I liked and this is what I didn't like, rather than like a big in-depth thing. I don't know. That comes out in a few weeks, so we'll see if that comes out. But yeah, that's the plan. The 2 Shaman videos, the 2 Rogue videos. I want to begin 14's playthrough. I'd still want to go back and go through all of Warcraft 3 and Frozen Thrones campaigns. At some point, that's kind of like a future prospect. But yeah, coming up soon, the Shaman stuff, the Rogue stuff, reactions to the cinematics, and Final Fantasy XIV playthroughs. So thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for sticking with me. If you are, if you're not, I'm sorry to see you go, but thanks for watching for as long as you did. But until then, stay awesome. Hopefully you're not boiling like a pig in the heat like I am. And hopefully it's cool where you are. So I'll see you guys next time. Stay awesome. And yeah, farewell.